morning, and welcome to Easy Rightsizing on KFOR. Someone told me years ago when I was heavy into collecting autographed sports memorabilia that an item is only worth what someone is willing to pay for it. So very true. I quickly learned that what I thought something was worth because it was valuable to me wasn't very valuable at all to other people. So that brings us to our conversation topic with Janine Bryant of Changing Spaces SRS. Good morning to you, Janine.
Good morning, Dale. Hi.
You've worked with clients over the years who needed to learn my lesson that if everything is special, then nothing is.
Right. Yeah, and you know what makes something valuable is scarcity, right? And that is so true when you're trying to sell something. I mean, certainly we work through that with a lot of our clients. You know, it's supply and demand, right? So something that you think could be really valuable, if there's no one else who demands it, if there's no one else who's wanting it, then it's not really worth anything, right? And I run into that a lot, not only when we're helping clients sell things and think about what something might be worth monetarily, but also when it comes to keepsakes. And you know, so many of our clients are downsizing out of a large home, moving to a smaller one. They are giving up 50% of their stuff, depending on how much stuff they start from. Maybe they're giving up 75% of their stuff. And they lots of times, of course, they don't want to. None of us do. And especially when it comes to keepsakes, we have to work through helping them determine what are the most important keepsakes that they want to keep so that they can let the rest of them go. And one client in particular that we worked with recently, you know, when we would go in and sort with our clients, you know, we maybe start with a category of things. Books. Okay, so which books do you want to take with you? Well, she wanted to take them all. They're all special, okay? Okay, well, what about your collectibles? You know, maybe you have 200 of these Boyd's Bear figurines, okay? There are these little ceramic figurines you buy at 4-Star Drug or whatever. Well, the entire collection is important to me. I've collected them over the years. We have 150 of them. But when you're downsizing and moving to a smaller home, I mean, it just becomes not realistic anymore, and you simply can't keep all of those things. So we have to help them make those priorities and think about, what am I going to keep and what can I let go of? What are the most important things? Because when everything is important, nothing is. Right? When you say, I have to keep it all, then you're really not able to identify what's your one favorite item or your top 10 favorite items. If you say all of this is important, then really nothing is. You know, I taught this class at SEC, Southeast Community College recently. It was called Easy Rightsizing. And one of the students taught me so much. I mean, they all taught me so much, but one of them, her name is Barbara, and she was a keeper. Okay. And she told this great story about a greeting card that she sent to her father. And she'd forgotten to sign it. Okay. But she sent it to him. It was for his birthday or something. And so then when it came time for her birthday, he sent it back to her, except this time he signed it, Love, Dad. And so then the next year, she thought it would be funny if she crossed out the Love, Dad and she signed it, and then she sent it back to him. And so they did this back and forth for several years. And now her father's gone, and she treasures that greeting card so much. However, Barbara is a keeper, shall we say. And so when I said, so where's the greeting card? She said, I don't know. I can't find it. And that is the tragedy of what happens when we keep too much stuff, right? So all of the keepsakes that this woman has kept from her family are filling up rooms of her home. They're filling up the garage. They can't park in the garage. And because all of this stuff from her parents is so special, really, none of it is.
Oh, you're talking to me.
Right? You can't find that diamond in the rough when you have, you know, you're looking for the needle in the haystack, but you have a whole field filled with haystacks. So it's really about only keeping the best and letting go of the rest, because when you only keep the best, then you're able to surround yourself and easily put your hands on the things that are most important to you.
Because the numbers are not overwhelming. The stacks aren't overwhelming.
Right.
The box boxes, the volume.
And when you have such a big volume, then, it's ironic because we keep it because we think it's going to make us feel good and remember our loved ones. But really what it ends up doing when you have an overwhelming amount of stuff is it makes you actually feel bad. And then it's not a blessing. Then all of that stuff from your loved ones that you're keeping is now a burden. And really, if you think about your loved one, they wouldn't want their stuff. That would make them sad. They wouldn't want their stuff to be a burden on you, right? They would probably much prefer if you had 4 boxes of things from their house that you loved and cherished, and maybe you hung them on the wall, or, you used them or displayed them. Those are always my 2 things. And then lived a great life in the here and now, right? Instead of being drowned by all of this excess stuff and unable to use entire rooms or entire garages full of stuff.
All right, so take us into that setting where you're in a client's home and everything is precious. How do you go about, what does that conversation sound like?
Okay, so I think that when clients come to us because they're moving, it actually becomes a little bit easier because I always say I'm not in the business of convincing people to move. Once someone has already moved or decided to move, that's when they contact us. So then we can say, Mrs. Jones, you have determined that you are going to make this move to this retirement community, or you have realized that you can no longer do the stairs in this house. So the time has come, right? And you are going to start paying rent on that new apartment in a week and a half, and the moving truck is coming, on the 13th, and we've got to be ready for him. And all of this stuff simply will not fit. And so it really is, having a 1 pound barrel and you can't put 2 pounds of stuff in a 1 pound barrel. And so that really kind of brings it to a head and really forces a person to come to that realization. What's harder is for maybe some of our listeners who are listening and who don't have a deadline like that, and maybe they're not going to be moving in the near future. You have to be a little bit more self-motivated, right? Because there's no external forces telling you've got to let go of this stuff. But the longer you put something like that off, the more likelihood there is that time will come and that you will be forced to make that decision. And as we've talked before on this show, those decisions, the longer you put those decisions off, the more it ends up costing you. The more it ends up costing you in time, energy, emotional strain, and money. Because our stuff does end up costing us. Because, when someone passes away, like I've said before, of course, you can't sell that home until it's empty. And so if your parents are keepers and they have everything that belonged to their parents, and then they pass away, then the kids have to now have 2 generations worth of stuff to let go of.
Your staff at Changing Spaces, I want this to be heard by first-time listeners to the show of Easy Rightsizing, is the fact that you do your due diligence. For people who have decided to move and the moving truck is coming and their rent or their ownership of their new property, their right-sized property, is on the calendar, you have measured the space.
Absolutely.
You know what can and cannot fit.
Yep, and that's always why we start with the floor plan, because once we figure out the furniture, then we can figure out all the little stuff. Once we know how many bookcases are going to fit in that new place, then we can say to this woman who doesn't want to get rid of any of her books, we can say, okay, you have 8 bookcases now. In the new place, there's only going to be room for 3. So then we start just saying, if the house was on fire and you had to grab 2 armfuls of books, which books would they be? And then maybe we let her take 2 more armfuls and we say, listen, we can fill up 3 bookcases full of stuff. And so then sometimes it doesn't seem as scary. Once you really start sorting through things, then you might come to realize, oh yeah, well, I enjoyed that, but I probably don't need it anymore, or I'm not using it anymore. And then another tip that we've talked about before on this show is that we remind those clients, okay, you're a lover of books. You loved this book. You're probably not going to read it anymore. Let's pass it on to someone in the community. Let's donate it to the library so that other people can enjoy it. And then that kind of helps sometimes get them over that hump.
I am a physical person. That would be very helpful for me to see a diagram or to know what my spatial limitations are.
It's like a map, right? And it helps you visualize what your new apartment or what your new home is going to look like. Because lots of times our clients are not buying new furniture, they're using their existing furniture. And so they can see, okay, my desk is going to fit right here in this corner. And I can take one desk, I can't take two desks, or I can take one filing cabinet. There's not room for 3 filing cabinets, or whatever it may be. But that map, a physical piece of paper in front of them, really does wonders for helping them kind of come to the realization that some of this has got to go. A lot of it has to go.
So if she has 8 bookcases and can only use 3, the 3 bookcases that are filled with the most precious of her books becomes that much more valuable to her.
And then when she's talking to a family member about a book she loves, she can actually find it, right? Because these clients, when I was in this particular gal's home, I couldn't tell you a single title of the books that she had because they were overwhelming. They were everywhere, right? But when you have a curated collection of your favorites, then you can put your hands on your most beloved books.
I've reshuffled the deck chairs on the Titanic. I've done that at home.
Right.
I've taken what I thought were the most precious and put them over here. 6 months elapse. I go back and I can't find that what I thought was the most precious of photographs because I have 4 piles of the most precious of photographs.
So which pile is the most precious?
Exactly.
Yes, right. And so once you begin in your own life to begin setting those priorities, then it's just as important once you've set those priorities to let go and release the stuff that doesn't matter so much. It's like cleaning out your closet. Once you identify your favorite pair of jeans, let's get rid of all the other jeans that don't fit anymore, right? Because then getting dressed in the morning is a whole lot easier. It's the exact same concept.
So much more out there. You can learn about services at changingspacessrs.com. And while you are there, click on online auctions, estate sales. You're heavy into both of those right now.
We are, yep. As we talk about on this show, there's plenty of people out there who have too much stuff and they're looking for ways to let go of it. And so we're very much into the secondhand market. We're reselling these items that still have a lot of use left in them and a lot of people want. And we're doing that in both in-person estate sales and then we're also able to do that via online auctions. So we're able to help twice as many clients as before.
Free right-sizing tips at easyrightsizing.com. Auctions, as we've mentioned, changingspacessrs.com, and estate sales. And always join us here for Easy Right Sizing on KFOR. Have a good weekend, Janine.
Thanks, you too.